Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about Hungarian true crime cases, or in the case of October, only spooky stories, and my name is Tímea. And before we get started, just don't forget to take a look at my Etsy shop where you can buy downloadable prints of my watercolor illustrations. It's in the description box as well as in the comment section. My shop's name is Tímea Paints, and today I'm going to read out a spooky Halloween horror story for you. Now, I chose this story because it's very informative. You can learn a thing or two about Hungary in this. So without further ado, let's get started. It's titled Halloween. A trick-or-treater woke us in the middle of the night. What makes you shiver from fear? Loud noises in the night? Finding your belongings at random places where they shouldn't be? I have a theory that while the great H.P. Lovecraft was right that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is the fear of the unknown, the most frightening, greatest terror one can encounter is disharmony. Finding things, beings at places at times where and when they are not supposed to be. You know what I mean? Seeing a funny clown in a dark alley, discovering a stranger on a photo you took with your friends, hearing a gentle lullaby in the dead of the night when you are home alone. A few days ago, on the 31st of October, I had to experience this type of fear on my own skin. You might be thinking, oh yeah, okay, another Halloween horror story. But I have to disappoint you. You see, I'm Hungarian and I currently live in Szeged with my girlfriend. Here we have no such thing as Halloween. November 1st is a national holiday, right, the Day of the Dead, when we go to the cemetery, place candles on the graves of our lost loved ones while remembering them. But no trick-or-treating, no pumpkins, no costumes. I see how this can be horrifying on its own, but as people say, you can't miss something you never had. But in recent years, thanks to the internet and the influence of Western media, Halloween slowly started to seep into Hungary. It's no longer strange to see bags of candy with ghosts, skulls and vampires on their packaging in the supermarkets around the end of October, and the majority of pubs, clubs or cafes plan some elaborate Halloween event. There is even a trend among families with smaller children who create trick-or-treat networks so their kids can go and collect candy just as they had seen it in their favorite cartoons. In the past few years, I had an annual ritual for that night. With some friends, we traveled to a small town where we could rent the local movie theater for a very cheap price. And we spent the entire night watching classic horror movies. This year, however, I ended up so overworked and so near to a very ugly burnout that I decided to skip it, stay home, maybe watch a horror movie with my girlfriend and then get to bed early. It went relatively well despite the fact that I missed my buddies, and our annual ritual, but still, getting some rest was better than anything I could have imagined, at least until our doorbell started ringing. You see, we rent an apartment in a closed building. You can only get in if you know the code of a specific apartment, or if you called one of the apartments on the intercom and someone let you in. There is a very little chance of a stranger getting in unnoticed by any of the inhabitants, and this gives you a sense of security. But none of our neighbors ever did something like this before. I remember getting out of bed and hurrying to the door, afraid that there might have been an accident and there's somebody looking for help. But before unlocking the door, I've called out, "Who's there?" A few moments passed and I almost wanted to ask again, but a small, strange voice called out from the other side of the door. "Trick or treat." I swear my heart stopped for a few moments. I am a very paranoid person, and a few years ago I lived in a similar apartment building where one of the tenants was insane. Insane enough to give everybody the creeps, but still harmless enough to be spared whenever somebody called the police on him. Moving away from there was like getting a breath of fresh air. So the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the voice was, "Oh no, please God, not another neighbor like that again." I slowly moved to the eye hole to take a look. And there he was. A person around my height was standing in front of our door with the lights on in the stairway so I could take a good look at him. He wore casual black clothing and had a cheap Halloween mask, like the one that you can find on eBay for a few bucks. He had a yellow plastic bag in one of his hands. If this had happened anywhere else where Halloween was officially celebrated, it would have been the most natural thing, a poor trick-or-treater who arrived a few hours too late. But seeing a masked guy in front of our door was, without a doubt, the most terrifying thing I've ever laid my eyes upon. Was he somebody from this building? Maybe one of my friends pulling a joke on me? I heard my girlfriend approaching behind me, starting to ask who it was when I signaled her with my hand to stay quiet. Then the voice came again. "Trick or treat." I could see the fright in her eyes too. It became even worse when I realized this wasn't a child. That masked guy must have been around my age, if not older, and he stood only 2 feet away from me, barred by only a weak, bolted door, which should have been changed like a decade ago. I finally mustered up enough courage to open my mouth and answered him, "Go away! Do you know what fucking time it is?" I tried to sound as tough as possible, but I don't think that I was able to hide my fear. As if he hadn't even heard me, came the same words for the 3rd time. "Trick or treat." "Go away, I'm calling the police." As an answer, he tried the handle of the door. My girlfriend screamed, "Shit, maybe I did too. Didn't you hear me? Get away or I give you a treat to remember, you freak." The handle became still. I heard a step from behind the door. No treats. I didn't dare to answer. This guy must have been drunk or insane. No matter what I said, he probably would have kept asking for treats until I opened the door for him. How did he enter the building though? Was one of the entrances left open? Or did he sleep in earlier that day and hid somewhere so he could pull off this sick prank at night? Then I heard a few more steps as he walked away, and up the stairs, probably to repeat his little game with the other tenants. I rushed to my phone immediately and called the police. Since I was the only one to call them and there was no harm done, they just promised me to send one of their patrols to take a look around. After hanging up, I cursed. The majority of the tenants in the building are old people. What if someone let him in after being awakened in the middle of the night? I checked the locks on the door and went back to our room with my girlfriend, but not before picking up some stuff from the kitchen. A broom and a few sharp knives. I didn't dare to let go of my cell phone, nor did we make any attempts to go back to sleep. We kept listening and waiting, either for a police car or some noise from the upper floors. After nothing happened for 2 or maybe 3 hours, and I felt my weariness getting the better out of me, I pushed a small dresser in front of our bedroom door and fell asleep. We woke up after 10 a.m. My first thing to do was get up, draw back the curtains on the window and take a look at the parking lot. No police cars, no ambulance, nothing that would have suggested some terrible things happened at night. I felt like heavy stones just fell off my heart. I removed the barricade, the dresser, and stepped out into our hallway. Then I stopped, and after looking around, my blood froze. You see, I know quite a lot of Halloween customs. I know about the practical jokes and pranks that happen to people who refuse to give anything to the sugar-hungry trick-or-treaters. Toilet paper, eggs, etc. None of this would have been frightening had we been living in a place where Halloween was celebrated. But the fact is we don't. And there were broken eggshells and rows of toilet paper lying everywhere inside our apartment, with our front door unlocked and gaping open. What do you think of this story? It is very much true. In Hungary we don't have any forms of Halloween. It's a very new concept that somebody would dress up as something, or somebody would make a tiny Halloween party for just him and his friends. It is not a thing. Kids don't go trick-or-treating. People look at you weird if you do it. Like, be prepared, no one's gonna have candy for you. If you think about it, it's kind of creepy that one night out of the year you can dress up as just about anyone, and anyone can be dressed up as anything. For all you know, your trick-or-treater could be a serial killer. And like, they come to your home, you almost let them in, like you subject yourself to a very big danger. Like, how many Halloween murders have you heard about, or very crazy pranks that got out of hands? What's the point? The crazy part is that this person allegedly got inside his apartment, he got over the locked door and left eggshells and toilet paper around his apartment. And this person could have easily opened the door that was barricaded by the dresser. Like, how much force do you really need to just kick that door in? Let us know what you thought of this spooky story down in the comment section. Don't forget to check out my Etsy shop if you haven't already. Like, subscribe, and I see you next week. Bye!